We've all been talking about it for the last half hour. Notice Jake McGee's third on the depth chart. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that's I wouldn't put too much into that. I mean, I think what we're doing is with the 3 tight ends that we have, obviously our 22 personnel, 2 tight ends in the game, 11 personnel, 1 tight end in the game, a tight end that's in the game that's not counted as a receiver. So I think you'll see multiple sets with multiple personnel units in there. And Jake, trust me, Jake will play a lot. He's one of our best players.
Jerry Ratcliffe, Daily Progress. What we do for TV, right? You guys faced 2 spread, hurry-up offenses the first 2 weeks, and last year you faced a number of those and had some difficulties. What did you learn from facing those last year, and how are you preparing for them this time around? Well,
I think, Jerry, that the way you prepare for spread teams is obviously sometimes you can't dictate the tempo that they obviously practice for and that they're known for, but you have coaches that have had opportunities to play against those types of offenses, and Coach Tenuta, Coach Lewis, to a certain respect. When you have special teams, you got to play up tempo to what they're doing as well. But it's through the planning of practice, it's through the planning of guys that have had opportunities to play against teams like that, and we did some of it ourselves. This camp. Actually, we did a lot of it. So you never can duplicate the speed of the game in terms of the amount of reps that you can get in, but you can always try to put yourself in the position of your calls being simple, your adjustments being very simple, and playing in a simplistic way. So we practice those those aspects of a spread hurry up offense, and our offense has done it as well.
Their defense obviously comes in, I think, finished 4th in the country last year, maybe 3rd. Kyle Van Noy is the star there. How do you go against him, and who are you having play that role on the scout team? As Coach Fairchild mentioned, you're going to have your best reserve linebacker gets to play that spot. How do you go about preparing for him?
Well, he's definitely one of the best college football players that are out there, deservedly so. A lot of accolades. You watch tape. He not only plays on defense everywhere, but on special teams. I mean, he's a guy that plays a lot of spots on special teams that makes plays as well. So definitely, we talk about the who and the what. You have to know where he's at all times, because I'm sure they're going to feature him in a lot of things. We just have to be aware of where he's at. I don't know if you can duplicate him through practice, but I think it's more of an awareness. The players watching film and how he can wreck plays, and trying to do some things that hopefully minimize his effectiveness on defense, whether it's running away from him or doing some other things. But he definitely has a talent. He's one of the best in the country.
Hank Curtis with the Associated Press. Mike, how much do you feel like your defense is all in, your offense is all in, you know everything, and how much do you just go into game prep, and how much would you still be incorporating new things as we go along through the season?
Sure. I think if you ask the coordinators, we put in everything that they wanted to see put in, and then what's important is curtailing what we do, and then trying to fit that to the game plan of what we anticipate BYU to do. So everything was in, and then now a lot of it is just based on what we can do well, take our personnel and put them in positions to help us do well, and then kind of we have to cater to what BYU does. Now, they have a new offensive coordinator as well, so there'll be some things that they'll do that we've never seen. Hopefully there'll be some things that we'll do that they've never seen. So it's about the adjustment and how we can proceed from there.
Mike, Mark Giannotto from the Washington Post. How do you foresee the running back situation playing out? Obviously, Kevin is sort of your featured back, but how will you rotate Kalik and Taquan in the game? Will there be a set rotation? Will it be a field thing? How do you expect that to play out?
I think what you'll see early on is trying to find plays and substitution groups that'll have those guys in the game. The great thing about Kalik and Taquan is that they're also our punt returner, kickoff returners. They can also play slot receivers in different formations. So the goal and the key is to try to get your talented players as many touches as possible. And that's a talented group of 3 running backs. And so we'll try, we'll do some things to make sure that everybody gets, the kind of touches that they need to help us be successful.
Mike, Dan Miller from the Virginia Pilot. What have you seen from Ross Burbank coming out of the spring? I know there's some injuries in that competition that played a factor, but what did he do to sort of stay in the mix?
Yeah, I think Ross has had the benefit of having strength and conditioning coach in his life and a nutritionist in his life, and having been a college student athlete, having gone through a couple spring practices. So I think there's a maturity level that he's experienced, and he just kind of emerged as a guy that that has proven that he can make out the calls in terms of identifying the Mike linebacker. He can make the line calls, the protection calls. So his knowledge of the game has increased as well. But Ross has been a very pleasant surprise for us, and that his development now has put him in a position to be a starting center for a college football team.
David Teal from the Daily Press. Mike, this is Coach and I's second stint at BYU. Do you go back and look at his previous incarnation, or since they've kind of changed alignments, do you not look at that and concentrate on what he did at Arizona when they were there last season?
Yeah, I think you have to probably look at a little bit of both. When you always go into your first couple games, and particularly where there's been coordinator changes, there's always, are they going to do what they did where they came from, or are they going to hold true to the personnel and the style that they played last year? So you wouldn't be surprised to see a little mixture of both. I think the guys and staff have done a pretty good job of putting together a game plan that has hopefully answers for either style. But I think just going into the game knowing that there'll be something that we probably haven't practiced for, but through the accumulated amount of reps in our own practice going against our offense, that we'll make up for that, and then we'll see what happens. There could be wildcat, there'll be all kind of things, and we'll see what happens.
Doug Dowdy again. You've got 2 true freshmen listed at the backup offensive tackle spots. Does that mean you've committed to play them this year? And how does it look in terms of how many of these true freshmen will play right away?
Well, I mean, as you look at the depth chart, obviously you see Sadiq and Eric Smith in those backup positions, and that's the plan going into this season. Will they have to play? I mean, we'll see, but I think that's where they're there. They're listed there. You look at our 2 deep. There's about 7 freshmen that I think have put themselves in position, to play in terms of depth or in terms of skill level. And we'll try to get them as much time as needed to bring them along. It's a long season, but at the same time, we all know that that things happen to players, and you're always an injury away from being the next guy in. So we're very aware of that, but I would say that they're talented enough of a group of freshmen to play to help us win.
Mike, Jeff White, VirginiaSports.com. Connor Wingo-Reeves was a late addition to the class, and he's right in the mix at fullback. Did you envision him kind of having this immediate an impact when he signed?
Jeff, I don't know if you envision it, but you look at who he is and look at what he is. You look at his height, weight. It's a big. We call him a big athlete, and that kind of guy, whether he's a linebacker or tight end, in our situation, he's an F or fullback. He kind of presented to us early on that he had skills to play a position that we need help. Obviously there's Billy Scrobaz there's Vince Croce, but Connor did a real nice job getting acclimated to what Coach Fairchild wanted in the offense. The style of player, a guy that can block, but also he can slip out into the flat and catch. He'll be a 3-4 phase special teams guy as well. So he's been a pleasant surprise, and one that, again, is all geared towards helping us win ball games.
Last year, Andrew S. Packer, Daily Progress. Last year you played, I think, 3-4 defenses, if I'm correct, Maryland, Wake, and Georgia Tech. didn't have a whole lot of success. What is the challenge against that type of defense, and is this particular one maybe the most challenging you've faced in a while?
I think, when you look at the 3-4 overall, you're right. It's not, it's not the style of defense that a lot of colleges play. I mean, particularly there's 4-man fronts or, blitzing, stunning fronts. The challenges are, particularly what BYU present, is they'll line up. They'll put a big guy over the center, and they'll cover up the tackles and have 2 stand-up outside linebackers. When you're running plays, I mean, obviously the blocking schemes and the line calls are different because of the alignments of 3-4 players, of the system 3-4. So it'll be important. We've been practicing BYU plays and schemes, 3-4 schemes, almost the last week, and it'll be important for us to block what we see and do it well, because you're right. I mean, they are a big front 7. I mean, they're all, in the back end, they're 200-something pounds up front. They're big. Nose tackle's big. We all talked about their linebackers as phenomenal players. So it is a challenge, and we have to find ways to make sure we move the ball.
Mike Marcinov from the Washington Post. And how much of a benefit is it that they don't really know what you're going to run on offense, and how challenging has it been sort of defensively for you guys not really knowing exactly what their game plans? I mean, how does that play out this week?
As I said, I think the first couple games, particularly the first game, when there's been coordinator changes, I'm quite sure that they're looking at film where John and Steve and Larry, places that they've been, and try to formulate a game plan based on that, and then just look at our games from last year and try to gauge personnel, ability type. So I don't know if there's much as a benefit as it is when you're changing coordinators, as it is that when you practice early on in camp, you got to take care of yourself. What you do, and I think that's been the main focus. Obviously, there's BYU focus, but I think more so it's about taking care of what we do, protect the football, and play smart, tough, and aggressive as we that's kind of been the mantra going into this season.
Ratcliffe, the Charlottesville Daily Progress. Irregardless of what offense BYU comes out in, in your study, what has impressed you about their offensive personnel?
Well, when you look at them, you look at the depth, and it says what year. You could add maybe 2 more years into what year that says that they are. It's they're very disciplined players. They've played under a head coach for a while that has a system and a style of play. Like I said, they're very physical on offense and defense. They have a tradition of winning, and so with that comes, I'm quite sure, a lot of confidence. And even though this is an on-the-road game for them, and quite a bit of travel, they have a team that I think is experienced guys that can play big games at their own place and play big games on the road. And so the challenge for us will be, with the players that we have, is to make sure that we handle our business and take care of what we need to take care of, because, like I said, they're a much experienced team.
Coach Brandon Franklin, CavsCorner.com. In years past, you've listed a guy on the 2 deep who was a true freshman who you would say, he's going to be ready to play, but maybe in that situation we'll try to keep his redshirt. Should we assume that the guys that you have listed as true freshmen on your depth chart are going to actually play this season, or are you going to be looking for ways to make sure that it's an as-needed situation?
Well, Brian, I think you always go into it that the best players have an opportunity to play, and what we're saying is those backups are listed there. We've identified them as being the next best to go in. Obviously, if games are close and they're tight, and guys have not gone in as you get into the season, then perhaps you may reevaluate that. But going into the season now, as it's listed, whoever can help us win, then we'll run the depth chart as you see it. But like I said, there's 7 talented guys, and we hope to give them as many reps as needed to bring them along.